Hey there, welcome to today's video where we will be talking about the dumbbell standing shoulder press. And we're going to be taking a pronated grip with this exercise today. It's an incredible exercise for your shoulders. I highly recommend you guys do it, and it should be placed in everybody's shoulder workout. So the first thing you're going to want to do is stand shoulder width apart. Also make sure that your hips are in, your core is tight, and that you're nice and tall with your chin facing forward. Once you do that, you want to make sure that you're pressing directly overhead. So you want to be aiming to get your biceps by your ears or somewhere in that motion. And you also want to make sure you're doing it in a slow and controlled fashion with minimal to any momentum, as well as do not arch your lower back. Those are key things when doing this exercise correctly. But before we continue with more tips, here's a word from today's video sponsor.
I'm today's video sponsor, and if you'd like help losing fat or gaining muscle, there are a few ways I can help you down below. Either set up a free consultation with us, purchase through one of our free affiliate links, or purchase one of our instant access affordable training programs. Can't wait to be of service to you. Now let's get back to the rest of the video.
Now let's get into more specifics when it comes to doing this exercise correctly and safely. So one thing that you want to do when it comes to bringing your elbows, the angle at which your elbow should be, you don't want them directly next to your shoulder per se. You actually want them slightly forward. What this does, it helps you press in a more safe position as opposed to driving your elbows as far back as you can. Like towards your back, obviously you can see it better at this angle. If you bring your elbows too far back, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your rotator cuff, and eventually you will get injured. Also, notice my forearms here. My forearms are perpendicular to the ground when I bring the weight down. That's important because you want to make sure that you stack up the joints. And by stack up the joints, I mean basically have your wrist over your elbow. Because basically, if you press from a position where your elbows are bent in reference to like the angle, meaning like let me make it simple, the dumbbell touches your neck when you go down. That means that you're bending inward too much, and your forearms are not perpendicular to the ground. So it's going to be hard to increase in weight that way, obviously, because you would need to have either incredibly strong triceps or you're just doing it wrong. So the idea here is to make sure that you do it correctly. That way you can minimize risk. Also, like I said before, keep that chin tucked. You don't want to be you don't want to be looking up when you're doing this. Really try not to do it. I even make the mistake sometimes, but try not to do that because then that's going to put a lot of pressure on your neck. Another thing is you want to make sure you're doing it in a slow and controlled fashion. Bring the weights down to the chin or underneath the chin and then overhead completely. Here's some common mistakes though. You don't want to be leaning back while you do this with your lower back excessively arched. You also want to make sure, like I said, you keep your chin tucked because that's going to put unnecessary strain on your neck. And then you also want to make sure you're pressing overhead, not in front of you this way. Get your biceps by your ears. Also, this is not a push and press, so I don't recommend that you do this. Just do it in a strict fashion. Also, you don't want to bring the weight so far down that your forearms are no longer perpendicular to the ground. They end up being parallel, so that's obviously horrible for your rotator cuffs. And also, like I said, you don't want the dumbbells folding in towards your neck. You want your forearms to be straight up and down.